This may not be the title decider many would have tipped it to be at the start of the season, but it is still one of the fixtures to watch. Liverpool are finding some form. They picked up their biggest Premier League win of the campaign last time out, but City booked themselves a trip to Wembley in midweek. Plus, it could be Pep's last visit to Anfield. So, there's plenty on the line here today. Yes, it is Liverpool versus Manchester City. We are building up to the 4:30 kickoff, and as ever, that's when we'll have live audio commentary of all the action here on LFC TV and on All Red Video. Yeah, welcome along to Anfield and to Matchday Live. Forget the Super Bowl. This is the big sporting fixture of the weekend. Phil Thompson and Gary Gillespie are alongside me here pitch side to enjoy it all. We'll hear from the boys in just a second. But first, let's get the details of Liverpool's team for today from our man Peter McDowell.
Yeah, and the big quandary was at right back, as so often it has been all of this season. Mark, Jeremy Frimpong hasn't trained this week, but it was hoped that Joe Gomez would. Joe Gomez is missing from the squad today, so the same 11 that did so well against Newcastle. Let's just confirm that for you in full then. So it's Alisson in goal, Virgil van Dijk, the immovable force, thankfully inside that Liverpool back four. Canate, a goal here last time out and got his first Liverpool goal against Man City at Wembley, you'll remember, back in the FA Cup semi-final of 2022. Then it goes Kerkez, Viet, who has combined with Hugo Ekitike for 6 goals already. That makes them the most productive duo in the Premier League so far this season. Szoboszlai presumably will be that man to get the nod in the right-back position again. And McAllister in the midfield, fully up to speed now and featured in all but 2 games this season. Mo Salah, who is so associated with success here where Manchester City are concerned. You know the adage around big players and big games. 15 of our last 20 Premier League goals against Man City have been scored or assisted by Mo Salah. He's been involved in more Premier League goals against them than anybody else. Gakpo, who scored in the 2-0 win here last season. Ekitike, the most talked about striker presumably in Europe at the moment. He's either scored or assisted every 112 minutes this season. That is the best ratio of any player in the Premier League in their first season since Mo Salah back in 17-18. Ekitike, the youngest player to reach double figures as well since Michael Owen 25 years ago. He's on 15 goals already, and then Gravenberch completes that Liverpool 11. Mamardashvili and Woodman, the 2 goalkeeping substitutes. Then it's Endo, Chiesa, Jones, Robertson, Nioni, Ramsey and Ngamoa. A place that's produced magic on so many occasions. Just 1 win in 21 for Manchester City. The last time they won here with a crowd in presence was nearly 23 years ago. Which way will this classic turn today?
Thank you, Pete. Yes, so often this has been a game so crucial in the race for the Premier League title. Not today, though. If we look at the league table going into this afternoon's clash, just underlines the point that trying to seal a Champions League spot has to be the priority for Arne Slot's side just now. They have ground to make up on the teams above. The Manchester United, the side currently in the box seats after yet another win for them under Michael Carrick yesterday. Yeah, 2 teams, Gary, I think, in a bit of a transitional period, but still 2 teams with real talent in their squads.
Well, 2 teams with great pedigree. I think you only need to look back for the last few years or so that they really have been the benchmark, like what's been good about the Premier League. And I think Manchester City and Liverpool are the 2 teams that have set the bar. Arsenal has certainly been up there and figuring it. But when you talk about exciting teams to watch, you probably talk more about Arsenal, about like Manchester City and Liverpool. But it's not always these teams that go on and win the league. And you find that at this moment in time that both teams throughout the course of the season haven't been as consistent as what Arsenal have certainly been, hence the reason why we're so far behind. Both teams are so far behind Arsenal at this moment in time.
How much encouragement, Tomo, can we take from the performance as well as the result against Newcastle? It felt like it was more akin to what we'd like to see and what we sometimes saw last season from Liverpool.
I think what was really good about it, we come from behind, which was strange in itself. But the performance level of individuals, it's always got to be about a team, but we've been searching for players to make an impact. And we're starting to see it now. Ekitike and Vert really been coming. But Kirk's sort of up and down, Frimpong before he got injury was looking like that one at right back. So we've seen great progress from the lads, and that I think you feel it from the fans, don't you? Out and about walking, they feel a little bit more comfortable with games, and I think that's just talking to people today coming in to the ground. There's a little bit more of a sort of enjoyable buzz about coming to the game. You just want to see a bit of excitement. There's no two better teams than what we've got today, going up against each other. I know Arsenal have making a fist of it now, and they have done the last couple of years, but Liverpool and Man City is certainly the two teams to beat.
I know it's only one win in 6 Premier League games this year, but you look at Liverpool's XG in the top division, it's the best at the moment across that period, which indicates you're doing something right. We saw them be really effective in this game. They were also a bit more direct at times with how they attacked. Did you feel this was a better way for us to play?
I think it was a little bit more open, the game in its entirety. I think when you look at Newcastle certainly were the better team for the first 30-35 minutes, but they came out and they wanted to play against Liverpool. Now, where we've really struggled is when teams have come here and sat back. The one game that we really got outplayed in was this corresponding fixture at the Etihad, where we got outplayed by Manchester City on that day, and for whatever reason we were a little bit flat. It can't be like that again here today. I think you've got to do something early on in the game to get the crowd up, get the atmosphere, get the excitement, get the enthusiasm going, and then who knows where the game goes from there. But certainly I think that you look in recent weeks, I think performance levels have gone up. I think the fact that we've only lost one game in, is it 12 games or something like that?
13,
I think 13. I think that helps as well, though.
But it's you look at the Newcastle game, and if you want, even when it went 1-1 and then went 2-1, the thing was Newcastle never ever retreated. They literally were high press from the very first start, and they were so good at it when they had energy. They played PSG in midweek before it, and then you could see that visibly the energy levels were dropping, and we took full advantage of that. And because they were pushing forward, besides going sort of dull in the legs, you go dull in the brain as well when you get tired, and you could see that from Newcastle, and we took full advantage. We've got to be a bit more, hopefully this will be similar today, and that's why I think we're all looking forward to a really top class game of football.
Biggest Premier League win since the game against Spurs here last season when we clinched the league title. Kind of underlines the point that we haven't been taking enough of our chances across this campaign. It's good to see us start to be a little bit more clinical at the top end of the field.
Yeah, I think there's certainly an argument you could be made the Newcastle game is the one game where I think everybody felt a little bit comfortable in the stadium and watching it, and media and pundits and what have you. Throughout the course of the season, every game we really have had been a battle. It's been it's been hard fought for whatever we've got. We've never really dominated teams and never dominated games the way we did in the Newcastle game. And it becomes a bit of a chore after that. And we've lost games in the last couple of minutes many's a time this season, but we've also won games in the last couple of minutes as well. So I don't really know kind of what levels where you've got to be at, but certainly when you're playing a Manchester City side, the one thing you've got to be 100% focused, and concentration levels have got to be really high. And sometimes maybe our concentration levels have not been at that level. Hence the reason why we've not had as many victories as maybe what we should have had.
And I think the boss was right. Arne Slot was right in his press. Where it's been different and strange this year has been in both boxes. In between's been great. But we've been poor at set pieces, poor at defending at times in the box, and we've been poor in the opposition. As you say, all of a sudden the assist, the XG has all gone up, and you think, well, why is that? And obviously, it's just been of late, since this last run, that things have got a bit better. But I think it was such a good sort of way of looking at it. At both ends of the pitch is where it's affected us, which it would be. It's not rocket science there, yeah. But you just go too right it's been.
One of the players who's maybe been criticised for the odd aberration defensively is Ibu Konate, and he was the sort of subplot to the game against Newcastle. What did you make of the way he came in, dealt with that situation and contributed in the manner in which he did, Gary?
Well, I've always said about Ivo Kanate, I think when you look at him, he's got all the traits to be a modern day centre-back. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's quick. I think he's a lot better in possession and on the ball than maybe people give him credit for. But the one thing I would say is judgment is a little bit questionable at times, and concentration levels a little bit dubious at times. But against Newcastle, you could see he was focused from the minute one, and then obviously gets his goal, which was so emotional really for everybody watching the game and inside the stadium as well. And I think his performance, that level of performance, is possibly more Ivo Kanate than maybe what we saw at the beginning of the season when he was stumbling a little bit and making a few mistakes. I think this performance against Newcastle is more like the Kanate, certainly what we saw last season. And the more often he performs like that, the better.
Do you think it was because of what happened with his dad?
Could have
He
been.
was here to make a point, and Gary's quite right with a lot of what he says about Ibu's game, and it's too many mistakes for a centre-back. Gary and myself were both centre-backs, and you build your reputation, you do what you do by making the least mistakes in and around the penalty area. Ibu's been guilty. I think it's again another thing what Arne Slot said was he's been at the scene too many times, the crime scene too many times, and I think that tells you have to get out of that. And he's got so many good attributes, but if you make that mistake all the time, I know with opposition, because as a coach, you'd be playing against certain players who make mistakes. I would be saying, he's going to make a big one at any given time. Be ready. And I think he has to eradicate that. But the other day, I think he was so fired up for it of what had happened with his dad, and he was magnificent.
The unfortunate thing is when you play as a defender or a goalkeeper, more often than not, if you make a mistake, it leads to the opposition scoring a goal, and it gets highlighted a heck of a lot more these days than certainly when we played. Yeah.
You mentioned both ends of the box. That's where we've needed to make a difference. At the top end, Hugo Ekitike continues to be the real shining light. You'll go back to the start of December. Since then, he's in the top three for all the striker stats in the Premier League. What is it about the way he plays that's made him such a good acquisition and so effective of late, Tomo?
What I think it is, and probably more than Isak likes to play on the back line or up against defenders. Hugo, what he's got different, he can drop off, he can play in that role with drag people in, he can drift to the left, he can drift to the right. He's a very clever player in between. So in essence, he's causing defenders, particularly centre-backs, problems by doing these things, and he's elusive. He glides past people, and you're quite right, he's been our most consistent new signer, probably our most consistent player. Probably Subtitles been excellent, but he is the next one. He's just arrived here, but it's his levels which has been quite astonishing to keep them. There's at times early on when his energy, after an hour he was like that, but now you can see him and Wirtz are going right to the 90 minutes. I think it's an asset.
I think that what happens as well is he feels a little bit more comfortable in his role within the team. I think the fact that his combinations with Florian Wirtz have got better all round. I think the whole team, the ethic around how Ekitike wants to play it, I think I've brought him more into the game, and I think he feels a little bit more part of the setup. And Liverpool at the beginning of the season struggled for that kind of formation, that kind of part on the play. They weren't cohesive enough, but that cohesion seems to be a lot better, and I think it's helped the fact that Florian Wirtz has come to the party as well, and he's certainly helped them as well, I think.
Yeah, it certainly has that as a partnership that is flourishing week on week. Okay, let's get the thoughts now of Arne Slot ahead of today's game. He began though in his media conference by reflecting on that win against Newcastle.
It was a good last hour. The first half hour wasn't as we wanted it to be. We didn't play that much. There were a lot of set pieces, which took a lot of time. And then it's difficult to find momentum, to find the same tempo and pace as we had in the last hour. But I liked our last hour, but for me it wasn't our best. I think we've played many games, really good football. Unfortunately, we're not always able to be that good in both boxes. Now, in the last two games, we've been really good in both boxes, and then people start to notice that our football might be better as well. But that football part has always been, for 95% of the minutes we've played, for me, far above an acceptable level, but both boxes have been not good enough throughout maybe 95% of the time. Now in the last 2 games that was, and then all of a sudden it's not only the performance but the result looks different as well. I think off the ball we were really good. So it was the third goal we scored came from a high press and a very good transition moment. We had a few very good transition moments, and I see also individual performances that are getting better and better and better, because these players are getting fitter and fitter and fitter, and are adjusting more and more towards Premier League, Champions League amount of games. And again, we are going to a week where we have to again play 3 games in 7 days, and not the most simple ones. It isn't as if we had a very easy FA Cup draw. So 3 strong teams to face in 7 days again. So that is another challenge that we are facing this week.
You said about this would be a good test to see about the development of your players. For quite some time, these are 2 teams that went toe-to-toe in competitions. I just wondered, how do you assess right now your squad, your performances with City? Where do you see them at the moment compared?
No, I don't know if I said that, but if I said players, I meant team. So where are we as development of this team? Because that we have very good players that we are aware of, but that almost everyone has in the Premier League, but we definitely as well. But the development of the team, how we are able to play against them now in our own stadium in front of our own fans, that's very helpful as well. How do I see this? I think we've shown, maybe apart from that first half and the first half against Palace, that we were able to compete with any team that we faced. Unfortunately, we haven't found the consistency to get the results consistent, to get consistent results. But I think we've shown against, I can come up with all the names, that we are able to compete, except for large parts of the first half against City, where I think they were better than us. But it also helped that a goal of us was disallowed, and for, in my opinion, reasons, the wrong reasons, that they got a penalty after a VAR interference, which was light for me as well. So these things also matter in a game, but we conceded set piece. Doesn't help in general as well. But they were the better team, and I think we want to show a different side of us this time. We remember is the game we played over there in the first half. We were completely outplayed for large parts, not for the complete 45 minutes, but for large parts. So it's another moment for us to see where we are in the development of this team. So that is that, of course, being said, we also know the importance of a result on Sunday, but that goes for all the 20 teams that are playing this weekend in the Premier League. It's the end phase of the season, so results matter more and more. And a very good team that were even able to win yesterday against the team that we beat during the weekend, not even with their starters. So that tells you, combined with the game we've played against them, what a force City still is, and always will be, I think.
Gary, you mentioned it at the very top of the show, that game against City in November at the Etihad was the one match perhaps where we have come unstuck and struggled to compete against the opponent. What do you think didn't work for us in Manchester on that occasion?
I just thought throughout, in general, we just lacked a little bit of intensity. I mean, look, let's face it, it's not an easy place to go and get a result, but the performance was flat. I don't think the team went there with any sort of great energy. I think, did we play Real Madrid before that, or I think we played a European game, didn't we, before it? But whether that had some effect on the performance or not, I'm not 100% sure. But we were certainly a million miles off it, and City, albeit, you know, you look at Van Dijk's goal with a header, that might have changed it a little bit. But in saying that, I did think that Manchester City were firing away the better side. Tom had made an interesting point there just off camera, that we actually had more possession than Manchester City in that game, which I found a little bit strange, but it just shows you that it's not all about possession at times. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net, and there's none better than that man there.
Yeah, that's the goal that was disallowed ultimately for Andy Robertson. viewed to be in an offside position.
Don't
Frustrating on the day, but not the reason that Liverpool didn't win on that day.
No, and it wasn't. But that changes a lot of the course of a game. They become doubters then. We become believers, and it is. But we weren't good enough, and you see there, even with the Ibu, with that challenge, Gary himself, no, it should be. If you're going to try and do, which is what I think he was trying to do, was head it on. You can't do what it was he did, and he doesn't get anything on it at all. But we weren't good enough. And do you know the old saying, you've got to be at it? We weren't at it. We were the Premier League champions going there, and City were up for it. And they were like that, we're going to show you who's the masters of this. And so there was two massive differences in intensity, and we got punished for it, and we ended up coming away with our tail between our legs. We have a chance to put that right today and make sure that hopefully it's the reverse what happens.
Time will tell if we are at it today, but going into the game, does it feel we're in a better position going into this match than that one?
Oh, absolutely. I think 100%. I mentioned it earlier on. If you go like 13 games and only lose one game, and when you look back to that game, it was the Bournemouth game where we got beat again with a last-minute goal. I think the performances have been like a lot better. I think we've been in games a lot better. I think belief from fans and belief within the team as well that like you can pull it back from like a deficit and go on and win games. At the beginning of the season when we were going through that spell, I don't think anybody had that belief. Certainly I was like doing a lot of the games and I'm sitting there watching it, whereas last season you're thinking like Liverpool, even if they're a goal behind in like the 91st minute or something like that, you still had that belief that they could go and get something out of the game. At the beginning of the season I don't think we had that belief, but at this moment in time I think we do. Performances have certainly picked up. We look a lot stronger defensively from open play and from set plays as well. Manchester City are not a team where you would expect to put a lot of pressure on you through set plays. And saying that, they'll probably score a goal from a set play. But like, they don't have that same threat as a lot of the teams that we've played already. But what they do possess is players obviously like Haaland that can change a game in the blink of an eye. But I think we've got to be as Thomas says, intensity is always key for Liverpool. And if we have that intensity and start the game like that, give this crowd something to shout about, then I think we can get on top of them.
Tom, it could be the last time that Pep brings a City team here, at least. What do you think his legacy is to the Premier League, and also his impact on this football club, but the standards he set in the Premier League?
No doubt, that's what it is. It's been standards that he's set. His legacy will be all, whatever goes on with Manchester City, from whether Pep leaves or he doesn't leave. It's made such an impact on the game. This passing out from the 6-yard box, when it all started, I was what's going on? No, he's taken massive risks in his own penalty area. But there was a ways and there was a means to an end of what he was trying to do, drawing people out for them to get between the lines and to do the damage. And I just think what he's done, and it's his energy. And I know sometimes he's looking, you're going, why are you being like that with reporters and things like that? But I look at him on that touchline, I think, wow. Game after game, season after season, he's going there with great intensity and he wants so much. Sometimes I think he's blagging it a bit when he comes on to his players, and I'm thinking, come on, do us a favour. Is this for you or is this for the cameras? But all in all, I think he has been one of the greats, and his legacy will be absolutely huge.
Time will tell whether it is his last visit here to Anfield, but he is here today and he's looking to try and get a victory over the Reds once again. Let's get the details of the team he has picked for this afternoon's clash. Let's head to Pete.
Yeah, it's a Man City team that have only lost one of the last 12, but they've only won one of the last 6 in the Premier League, and that was against bottom-of-the-table Wolves. But what Arne Slot took from that win for the midweek is with around half of the team that they have on duty today, they were still able to dismantle Newcastle without any great strenuous effort. There's just one change from that team that will last out in the Premier League, and that is Marmoush comes in for Shirky. They had a big doubt over Bernardo Silva, but he makes the 11 as well. Let's confirm that for you in full. Then Donnarumma as ever in goal. history suggests he will be busy. Only one clean sheet in their last 31 visits to Anfield. Man City, he was brilliant here for PSG last March, you'll remember as well. And then it's Nunez, Kusanov, Mark Gay, 3 wins in his last 3 against Liverpool, and Ait Nouri that make up the back 4 right to left. O'Reilly and Rodley look like the holding insurance mechanism there for Man City. Rodri, Haaland and Shirky all subbed on together in midweek. It's some bench for a cup semi-final. Made his debut against Liverpool in the Community Shield back in 2019. And then it's Silva, who is fit. He's appeared in every Premier League game for them this season. Marmoush, 2 goals midweek to secure their Carabao Cup final place. And Semenyo, 3 goals in the Premier League against Liverpool, all of them here at Anfield already, including 2 on the opening night of the season in Bournemouth colours. And Haaland, there have been some talk that he might even have been left out for this one. No chance of that. 27 goals already, but hasn't scored in any of his 3 Premier League away games against Liverpool. Only one of 2 Premier League grounds he's never scored at in City colours. No non-penalty goals in his last 7. Georgi Marmadashvili, you will remember, saved his penalty in the away game. And amongst the subs, it is a very experienced bench in. Shirky, the second most creative player in Premier League football this season, just behind Bruno Fernandes. Foden, who's had a hand in 5 goals in his last 3 starts against Liverpool, and Reinders as well. They haven't done the double over Liverpool, which has been a well-trotted-out stat this week since the 1930s, but against no other opponent has Pep Guardiola endured more torment than against Liverpool in all of his managerial career so far. Let's hope that continues here today.
Thank you, Pete. Well, let's hear from Pep Guardiola now. And he says he knows exactly what his side can expect when they visit Anfield here today.
Remain an exceptional team. Top-class manager, exceptional team, no doubts. The moments are the moments, the seasons are the seasons, so I think reveal the squad. And it's not revealed the squad for one season, for many, many years, so always remains a good team. It was the toughest opponent and a difficult place and stadium, and especially quality of the players, the managers. Yeah, been tough. Try to see how they played lately. What do you have to do? Adjust something, but not this Anfield. In all big stages and big games, always need big personalities. Always I said many times, it's not about the skills. All the players in the first division, the Premier Leagues, and the big leagues in the top clubs, the skills are there. I never know one player that is not good enough to play in the big clubs. It's how you behave. I'm not saying play good or bad. How you are. I am who you are as a player. I do it here in big stadiums, at home, in the last stages in every competition, European competitions, that define the good players, that as much you have, define the good teams.
Is it more on the mind?
No, on the mind. Of course, the mind controls the bodies and your thoughts control everything, but not just about that. We have moments, real moments, but not enough consistency to be there, but still we are there. So 14 games in the Premier League is an eternity, from my experience. It's a lot. And everything can happen. You know, in the other position, we are better than last season. Last season, we finished 23 in the Champions League. We are 8. Last season, first round Carabao Cup, we were in the final. The FA Cup was still there. And last season in the Premier League, we are miles away from Liverpool. So we'll see what happens until the end.
We've looked at City's results in recent months. Great from sort of start of November, but didn't really kick on from the turn of the year. Of course, was that defeat in the Manchester derby as well. If you look at the points this year, 47 points at the moment. City under Pep, the seasons they've won the title, have had at least 52 at this stage. So that kind of underlines they're not quite hitting the mark of where they would like to be, pushing for the championship. Just one win in the Premier League since New Year's Day. Tom, where are Manchester City coming into this? Of course, we kind of know the fact they are heading back to Wembley in the League Cup final. They got through pretty convincingly against Newcastle in midweek. Is this a City team like us that is rebuilding, remoulding itself? Inconsistent
is the word. And he'll be sort of scratching his head, Pep, as to why, because most of his teams, bar probably last year, have been very consistent in games that they win. How many games they win, but how many they lose is not many. And he's saying, I think he's fighting with himself. And he was throwing all questions beforehand whether Haaland was going to play. He's throwing little curveballs in for the media. So he's maybe trying to keep them on the toes. and keep them alive, and whether they were going to be in the team, because he's not sure of them. And I think it's been a long time where Pep hasn't been sure of his teams, and he always gives you that positivity. He always gives you that belief that and the trust that my team's all right, my team's good. It just seems as though, is he just losing that little bit? His team has certainly done that. Let's hope it's like that today.
I think when you look at it, every pundit you speak to, like, always expect Manchester City to be the team to go on that unbeaten run. It's not worked for them, is it? Liverpool maybe had that reputation. Obviously, certainly last season we had that reputation, and again, it's not worked for us. And it shows you that the most consistent team this season have been Arsenal. Hence the reason why they're, like, was it 9 points ahead or 7 points ahead? And you look at Manchester City at this moment in time, and yes, you look at the squad. It's a squad full of, like, talent and ability, but is it a squad that can go on that 12, 13, 14, 15 game undefeated run? I'm not 100% sure that is the case, and I think that's the frustration from Pep's point of view, because he's always had these teams that could do that.
He's used 27 players so far, the third most in the Premier League, and that kind of points to the fact that he is searching or trying to find the right formula. With all those great ingredients that he's pulled together, he's not quite sure of his best mix.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because you're looking at some of the players that he's had, and some Reinders. You thought that he would be first choice. Marmouche, I know he got a couple of goals in midweek, but they were 2-0 up from the first leg, and maybe he was just resting some of these for today's game. But I think it tells its own story, doesn't it? Is that he's never been. Normally he would know his top 10 players. Now I think it's down to about 6 or 7 at the most that he can be sure of, and he'll chop and change, trying to search for that formula to give him that consistency. Gary said it, the second half of the season when they normally come strong, we're now waiting, and they haven't won a league game, or won 1 in 6 in the Premier League, and you're just not sure of them anymore.
I think it says a lot that he goes out and buys Mark Gay and Semenya in the window, the January window. I think that speaks volumes that he's not quite happy with the squad. And you look at the wide players that he's got, Cherki, Doku, Foden. He's got plenty of wide players in there, but he goes out and buys a wide player. He's got plenty of centre-backs as well, maybe like a couple injured, but certainly, and then he goes out and buys another, like, centre-back. I just think that shows you where they are at this moment in time.
Well, if you show the starting 11 for City today, both those players you mentioned in from the off underlines that they were solutions for the here and now. I look at their bench, I look at the options that they've got, and that's maybe the difference between the two sides today, is they have got so much on that bench. You know, Phil Foden, who's one of the stars of 2 seasons ago, was excellent earlier in this season amongst the replacements. They've got Cherki, who's there, Reinders is there. There's lots of options for him if he needs them.
See, Cherki and Reinders straight away come to mind, and Foden. We've all known what Foden could do over the years. Cherki and Reinders coming in, they're so talented. They are City players, but they're searching for consistency to do it and do it and do it. And that's why they're in and out of the side. But there's certainly 2, I think. It's maybe 2 for the future. Maybe we'll see the best of them, as we're expecting from some of ours. Next year we're going to be really good. And listen, they've always had great. Phil Foden is a tremendous talent. In between the lines, number 10, whatever you want, he can hit you. So can Cherki, so can Reinders, and that's going to be our problem, certainly coming that last 20 minutes.
Gary, you mentioned the January recruitment. Sometimes January recruitment doesn't quite work, or it takes time to see a player find their straps, but Semenya's hit the ground straight away. 10 goals already for Bournemouth, including a couple here on the opening weekend. He goes to City, 4 in 6 already for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he's got great ability, and I think if you're a Liverpool fan, the one player that you would look to sign, and we saw it from the first game of the season here against Bournemouth, he was absolutely electric, and he's been electric for most of the season. He had a little dry spell, which I think all forward players go through, but as you rightly say, he's come to Manchester City and he seems to be a match made in heaven, and he's certainly hit the ground running, as you would expect with a player of such quality, and the fact that he knows the Premier League inside out as well, I think has certainly helped. But it just shows you a player that in the beginning of his career came through the lower like divisions, and then obviously established himself in like the higher echelons, and probably one of the most recognised quality players in the Premier League at this moment in time.
Do you know what? For them having great ability, do you know what always comes across to me? Is they're of good sort. People like you would like to have. People like give you a good background, give you a good dressing room. There's nothing sort of really flash about them. They want to get on with the jobs. Gay for not coming here on that the summer transfer window, and for him to show his personality in that Palace side, for probably being dragged away, was truly exemplary. And Semenyo is it. So he's picked players who were suitable for the Premier League, but great characters that you need going forward.
Yeah, Gay and Semenyo, good characters. Both have brought that. They both brought ability. And in Semenyo's case, great versatility. You saw at Bournemouth, most of his attacks came down the left-hand side. For City so far, the opposite flank. Great versatility, great options for Pep. You know, today it looks like he maybe will come off the right again. But again, we don't quite know because he can do it from different areas.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see, because if you remember rightly, when he played for Bournemouth in the opening game of the season, he played on the right-hand side against his mate Kerkis. And in fairness, Kerkis had a really hard time against him. In fact, to the point, I think he actually got substituted, Milos Kerkis. And I think, again, today you'll see him going down the right-hand side. No doubt, in my mind, Kerkis has definitely improved from like that first game of the season. I think his confidence levels are far greater now. His ability is shining through, and he's more than like the player that we saw at Bournemouth last season. So it'll be interesting to see that confrontation down that side.
Tom, I think we're contractually obliged to talk about Erling Haaland at some point. By his standards, I'm using that to clarify, things haven't gone as smoothly for him this year, but write him off at your peril.
Oh, absolutely, and you know it's nice to see Virgil and Ibu being physical with him, because this boy he's quick for his size. He can be strong, but you have to impose yourself on him. You have to make sure you win your battles. And here at Anfield, we've most of the time done that. I don't want to sort of decry him or anything like that, because you know he'll come back and hurt you. But I'm just hoping he has another one of those off days, because that's what Virgil and Ibu have done in the past. But his goals are just phenomenal. I'd like to have somebody like that who you think's having a hard time. He's a goal machine, and that's what he is.
He's only scored 27 goals.
16 touches the last time he played here, one shot. But he's the player who doesn't need a lot of touches. That's been kind of the standout trademark of his career. Get the ball to him once, and that might be enough.
Absolutely.
Well, I think you watch Manchester City, and the way that they play, it baffles me, because honestly, they get themselves in so many good wide positions, and you just think, put the ball in the box. You've got a 6'5" centre forward who's deadly in the air. Why don't you just put it inside the box? But then you look at his stats, and he scored 27 goals without them doing that. I mean, I hate to think if they put the ball in the box a little bit more, how many goals he would score. But that's strikers and more. Mohamed Salah, to a certain extent, is maybe similar to like that as well. There's long spells in the game where Mohamed Salah doesn't like do much, but then he'll pop up, and at the end of the game, his stats are he's made 2 goals and scored 1, and that's like what it's all about. And it's all about having an impact on the game. And Erling Haaland certainly has an impact on the game because of like the goals that he scores.
Yeah, the very best in the business don't often need a lot of chances to shine. Speaking of the very best in the business, Steve Hunter and John Aldridge are on commentary duty up in the gantry for us today. Let's check in with Steve ahead of kickoff. Evening, Steve.
Thanks so much, Mark. You are too kind, my friend. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Big game, isn't it, for us? You know, between now and the end of the season, even maybe top 5 might still get the Champions League qualification. So all to play for Liverpool, isn't it, today? We need to make this place a fortress again. Certainly the second half performance against Newcastle showed great signs of encouragement. We've still got to play Chelsea here, still got to go to Old Trafford, still got to go to Villa Park. So all to play for. But first of all, let's take you back to a rip-roaring encounter under Jurgen Klopp when Liverpool were flying. An absolute 4-3 thriller at Anfield back in January 2018.
Liverpool against the Manchester City side who haven't lost a domestic game. What a huge game, what a huge day, what a stage for it. Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain. That's a good drive. The shot is low, and it's into the back of the net. Manchester City are stunned at Anfield, and still Sane. He squeezed it past Karius at the near post. Roberto Firmino with a magical moment. Here come Liverpool, here comes Sadio Mane! Oh, what a goal! Sadio Mane's almost broken the back of the net! Ederson will come, he's not got it. And this is Salah, and Mohamed Salah! He's made it 4! Here's Gundogan, Aguero, Gundogan, good block, it will break for Bernardo Silva. It's 4-2. And there's the dink, and there's Ilkay Gundogan. It is 4-3, and maybe it's not over yet. Referee puts his whistle to his mouth, and Liverpool are the first team in the Premier League season to beat Manchester City.
Yeah, that was actually my favourite Liverpool performance against Man City at Anfield. The 3-0 was good when Fabinho scored a rocket, didn't he, in that 3-0 win, which is a big win towards the title. But that one was a little bit special. Even though City scored really 2 late goals, that 4-3 flattered them. Liverpool were absolutely brilliant that day. Right, let's revisit one of the goals in that game. This is one of my favourite Mo Salah goals, this, at Anfield. That sweetly executed lob over Ederson. I mean, that's just absolutely sublime, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant the way he just lobs it over the goalkeeper and into the back of the net. The roar at Anfield that day, Aldo was with me and he was going crazy that day. And coming up though, we're going to show you this goal now, which perhaps is the best goal Mo Salah has scored against Manchester City, when he turns the defenders completely inside out, bamboozling them. What a goal. It finished 2-2. It was a goal, as the great Kenneth Wolstenholme once said many, many moons ago. It's a goal good enough to win the league, the FA Cup, the World Cup, and maybe even the Grand National too. It was that good, wasn't it? Absolutely fantastic. And we'd love a bit of that from Mo Salah again today, wouldn't we? Hopefully, him and Ekitike can do the business for Liverpool here today. Big game. Liverpool hopefully can do the business where it matters. Mark, it's all yours.
Thank you, Steve. Well, our social media viewers are heading off just now, but our build-up will continue on LFC TV and All Red Video. Details on how to subscribe, if you're not yet a subscriber, can be found at liverpoolfc.com/watch. Okay, coming up in the rest of Matchday Live, we'll hear from Alexis McAllister and Virgil van Dijk. And just before kick-off, it'll be Stephen Aldo, as I mentioned, who'll bring you live audio commentary. And after full-time, we'll be back down pitchside to discuss the action. That post-match show will be available in podcast form too, on The Reaction. You'll find that where you usually get your podcasts. And you can watch a full rerun of this game against City from midnight. And if that's not enough, come Monday at 6, Neil Mellor will go in-depth on the key events with the Premier League Review Show. Okay, we are building up to Liverpool taking on Manchester City here at Anfield. And let's give you a quick reminder of the 2 starting lineups. For Liverpool, it is the same side that turned out against Newcastle last time out. Alisson Becker continues in goal. Looks like Dominic Szoboszlai operate right back once again alongside Ibou Konaté, Virgil van Dijk and Milos Kerkez in defence. Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister expected to sit in